When you think of the highest grossing actors of all time, who comes to mind? Maybe Samuel L. Jackson with his dozens of blockbusters, or Robert Downey Jr., the face of the MCU. What if I told you the answer is a woman who started her career in quirky indie films and was once known more for her dramatic performances and her action heroics? That's right, thanks to a career-defining role and a recent blockbuster hit, Scarlett Johansson now holds the crown as the highest-grossing actor in history. But her story isn't just about box office numbers. It's a decades-long journey of a child star who refused to be typecast, who navigated a challenging Hollywood landscape, and who, despite some major commercial flops along the way, built a career with both critical acclaim and undeniable star power. So, how did a quiet girl from New York City become a global superstar and the undisputed box office queen? And what does her career tell us about modern stardom? Let's break it down. Growing up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, Scarlett Johansson's path was set for the stage from a young age. The daughter of an architect from Denmark and a producer from the Bronx, she and her twin brother Hunter were immersed in a creative and culturally rich environment. It was clear very early on that acting wasn't just a hobby for her, it was a calling. She enrolled at the Professional Children's School in Manhattan, an institution famous for nurturing young talent, including alumni like Sarah Michelle Gellar and Macaulay Culkin. While her peers were focused on regular school life, Scarlett was already dedicated to her craft, auditioning for commercials and theater roles. Her big screen debut came at the age of 9 in the 1994 comedy North, a film that, to be honest, wasn't exactly a critical darling. But it was a start. She continued to take on smaller parts, earning a notable role at age 12 in the independent film Manny and Lo, which gave critics an early glimpse of her potential. By the time she was a teenager, her role in Robert Redford's 1998 drama The Horse Whisperer put her on the map as a rising star to watch. She was no longer just a kid in commercials. She was a serious young actress with a quiet intensity that hinted at the powerhouse to come. In Hollywood, some actors have a slow and steady climb to the top, but for Scarlett, her career had a pivotal moment that launched her into a new stratosphere. That moment was 2003, and it wasn't just one film, but two career-defining performances that arrived in quick succession. First came Lost in Translation, Sofia Coppola's quiet, bittersweet film about two lonely Americans finding a connection in Tokyo. As the young, aimless college graduate Charlotte, Scarlett delivered a performance of incredible subtlety and depth, holding her own against comedy legend Bill Murray. It was a role that captured the feeling of youthful ennui with a grace far beyond her 18 years. Almost immediately after, she starred in Girl with a Pearl Earring, a historical drama where she played the famous subject of the Johannes Vermeer painting. In a role with very little dialogue, Scarlett had to convey a complex inner world through her expressions and body language alone. These two films couldn't have been more different, but both showcased a breathtaking range that left critics stunned. She received nominations for 2 Golden Globes, one for each film, and was celebrated by critics as a mature and sophisticated artist. The days of her being just a former child star were over. Scarlett Johansson had officially arrived. But of course, there's more to Scarlett's career than just indie dramas. She's always had a knack for balancing her art house sensibilities with roles that prove her undeniable star power. And nowhere is that clearer than in her non-MCU filmography. Let's start with her undeniable box office prowess. In 2014, she led the sci-fi action film Lucy, a movie with a high-concept plot and a modest budget that went on to become a massive global hit, grossing over 4 times its budget. It was a clear signal to Hollywood that she could carry a major blockbuster on her own without a superhero costume in sight. Her career also features some truly unique and critically acclaimed roles. Take Spike Jonze's Her, where she was never even seen on screen, but delivered an Oscar-nominated performance as the voice of an artificial intelligence. It's a role that speaks volumes about her ability to create a character and the powerful emotional connection with audiences using nothing but her voice. Then there's Noah Baumbach's Marriage Story, a film she did for Netflix that earned her another Oscar nomination and proved she could effortlessly transition between blockbuster action and intimate character-driven drama. Of course, not every film was a resounding success. The 2017 live-action remake of Ghost in the Shell was a notable commercial flop. Despite a huge budget, it failed to connect with audiences and barely made back its production costs. But even in failure, her career reveals a fascinating pattern. Her 2013 sci-fi horror film Under the Skin was also a box office failure. But in that case, the film was a critical sensation that has since become a cult classic, praised for its stunning visuals and her haunting minimalist performance. It's a perfect example of how a film can lose at the box office and still win in the long run. While Scarlett's career had been built on a foundation of critical acclaim and varied performances, her destiny as a box office titan was sealed with a single iconic role, Natasha Romanoff, aka the Black Widow. Her journey in the MCU began in 2010 with Iron Man 2, where she was introduced not as a superhero but as an elusive spy. Over the next decade, she would become a core member of the Avengers, appearing in a total of 8 films. She was a crucial part of the biggest cinematic event in history, and her presence in films like The Avengers, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and especially Avengers: Endgame contributed massively to a collective box office gross in the tens of billions of dollars. The culmination of this journey was the long-awaited Black Widow solo film in 2021. But this release came with a twist. The film's hybrid release on both theaters and the Disney Plus streaming service led to a major controversy. Believing the decision cost her millions in potential earnings, Scarlett did something unprecedented for an actor of her stature. She sued Disney for breach of contract. It was a bold move that highlighted her power in the industry and resulted in a landmark settlement. Ultimately, while the MCU built her fortune, it was a recent non-Marvel blockbuster, Jurassic World Rebirth, that officially pushed her total gross past her Marvel co-stars like Samuel L. Jackson and Robert Downey Jr. and into the #1 spot. She has been in 52 movies which have earned over $15 billion. Meanwhile, Samuel L. Jackson and Robert Downey Jr. take second and third place with just $14 billion with over 60 movies each. The MCU gave her the foundation, but her continued success solidified the title. So what happens when a global superstar steps away from the role that made her a blockbuster titan? The answer in Scarlett's case is that she reasserts her creative control and continues to prove her immense value to the industry. No longer constrained by the rigorous schedule of the MCU, Scarlett is now a producer through her company These Pictures. She's been focused on developing her own projects, including a bold move into the director's chair for her upcoming film Eleanor the Great. This shift from actor to creator shows a new chapter in her career, one where she's not just the star, but the one shaping the stories from behind the camera. Of course, she hasn't stopped acting. Her recent starring role in the blockbuster Jurassic World Rebirth is a testament to her enduring appeal and ability to draw an audience. It's a clear message that her star power isn't tied to one franchise, but to her own talent and on-screen presence. So why is she still so popular? Part of the reason is her versatility. She can convincingly go from a Marvel superhero to a subtle indie role. She also maintains a quiet, almost old-school Hollywood persona. Unlike many of her peers, she doesn't use social media, which keeps her personal life private and keeps the focus squarely on her work. It's a strategy that has served her well throughout her long career. And as for one final fun fact, if you've ever called her Scar Jo, you might want to stop. She's publicly expressed her dislike for the nickname, finding it both lazy and insulting. It's a small detail, but one that speaks to her desire to be seen as more than just a brand, but as an artist and the person.